Hello students, how are you all? I hope all of you are doing good. So today we are here to start our new chapter of the class 10th physics, that is about the human eye and the colorful world. So our today's chapter is all about human eye and the colorful world. Now, what we have discussed in our previous lecture, let's remind the first. We have discussed about the light and we have seen the two phenomena related to the light, that is all about the reflection and refraction. Now, in our today's chapter, that is the human eye and the colorful world, this chapter is somewhat linked to our previous chapter. Why so? Because in this chapter, we are going to study about the human eye, and human eye basically consists of a lens. And what we have discussed in the previous chapter, we have seen that how many types of lenses are there, how the image formation in the lenses will take place, and where exactly we will get the image after we place any object behind or before the lens. So these all questions we have answered in our previous chapter. Now the eye is using a lens, and this question we will solve in this chapter. Apart from it, you have seen that we are going to discuss about the structure of human eye. So structure of human eye consists of many type of the we can say many type of the lenses or many type of the things you have to study in that. So many parts of the eye will also have some defect. So we are using the defects, we are having a defects in the eye, and for these defects we will going to use the correction methods. So this is the another topic. So whenever you know the flow of the chapter, it becomes very easy to understand this chapter, and in fact this is our very short and interesting chapter you have. So what you have to study in this chapter, let's do a quick simplified revision of this. Firstly, you have to deal with the structure of human eye. So if human eye has a various parts, then it also have some defects. So if eye has a defect, then there will be some methods to correct this defect. So we will learn about the methods of correction. So this is the first part of the chapter, that is human eye, and we are going to cover this first half part of the chapter. Now, second part is our colorful world. Now, what does colorful world signifies? Colorful world signifies that how the application of atmospheric refraction is going to work in the nature. You have seen the rainbow in the nature, how rainbow is formed, why does twinkling of stars occur, and why there is an apparent shift in the position of sunlight and sunset. And you have also heard about the term prism, how actually the prism works, and why is the color of the sky blue. So these all questions we are going to answer in the other half part of the chapter, that is about the colorful world. So we are left with atmospheric refraction, twinkling of stars, prism, blue color of sky, these are actually very interesting topics that we are going to answer in the next half part of the chapter, that is about the colorful world. So this is actually the second half part of the chapter, and in fact this is a very short chapter of the physics we have. So starting with the structure of human eye, we are going to end this chapter at the colorful world, that is the blue color of the sky. Now let's start the chapter here, and in this chapter you will get the answer of all the questions you have in your mind, that why are the things around us happening exactly. But what you have to remind, you have to just go with the flow. It means you have to remind the one topic, and every topic is interrelated to the other topic. This thing you have to keep in your mind. Now, we are starting with the structure of human eye. Now, the first and the foremost thing is that everything around us is visible to us just because of that one sense organ, and that is our human eye. Now, human eye is actually like a camera. Why it is camera? It is a camera because it captures the light. It means it captures the image of an object whenever a light falls on it. So, we are able to see this colorful world just because of the one sensitive organ that is known as our eye. Suppose if we close our eyes, we can detect the presence of anything by tasting it, by smelling it, or by touching it. But you won't be able to see the color of that object without the eyes. So I can say that eye is one of the most important, essential, sensitive organ in a human body. So starting with the eye, it has many parts, and these many parts are actually having a different functions. So let's begin with the chapter. And the first topic we are going to cover is about the structure and the parts of the human eye. Now, our eye is actually spherical in shape, having a 2.3 centimeter diameter. Now, in this eye, whenever a light is going to fall on our lens, an image is formed on a screen, and that screen is actually known as retina. So, image is formed on this retina. That's why the things are visible to us, because light is getting reflected away from this lens. So, our eye is having a convex lens. Why we are having a convex lens? Because convex lens have a capability to form the real and inverted image of an object. So, starting with this sense organ, let's first see what will be the structure of human eye. Now, this is the actual structure of the human eye. Now, I am going to label the parts of this human eye. So, first of all, listen a very important thing. This question is very important question. A question can be asked in your exam. Draw a label diagram of the human eye and label its parts. And this question is definitely going to come in your exam. So, this is a very important topic, and I can say that this is a very important question you have. Now, in the human eye, firstly, you can see that this is a bulging part which is bulged outside. So this bulging part is actually our cornea. This bulging part that I have drawn from this purple color is cornea. So the part which is bulging outside is cornea, and what will be the function of that cornea? I'm going to tell you now. Now, after this cornea, you can see that this is a crystalline lens. What is this? This is a crystalline lens we have. So I can label this part as a crystalline lens. So this part will be our lens. Now, this part is holded by here some sort of muscles. And this is what? This is actually our ciliary muscles. This is what? This is ciliary muscles. So this is our third part. Now, after cornea in our eyes, we have a round shaped circle. It means that is of the black color. So that black color part we have is our pupil. So behind the cornea, what we have? We have pupil. And in that pupil, actually you have a centered part that is called iris. Iris is actually a hole on that pupil. So on that pupil, you have a one hole. And what is this hole? This hole is known as iris. So this part will be our iris. So these are the main things. Now, between this crystalline lens and pupil, there is a liquid stored, and what will be that liquid known as? That liquid is known as aqueous humor. We will call that liquid as a aqueous humor. So in between the crystalline lens and pupil, you have one liquid stored, and that will be known as aqueous humor. So this will be our aqueous humor. Now, the image is going to be formed on the part of the screen. You can say the image where the image is formed in the human eye will be our retina. This is what? This is retina. Retina is a screen where the image is going to be formed. So this part is our retina. Now, what is this blue colored part I have drawn here? The blue color part is known as sclera, and it is going to protect our eye, and this is our sclera. Now, in this part somewhere another liquid is stored, and that liquid must be known as vitreous humor. This will be your vitreous humor. So this is the another liquid. One is aqueous and another one is vitreous humor. Now, what are these known as? These lines that we have drawn are actually our optic nerves. So these are actually carrying the messages to the brain. So this part will be our optic nerves. So these are the whole things we are going to discuss in the structure of human eye. So let's see how many parts I have drawn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 parts you have to discuss very deeply, and you have to remember the function of all these parts one by one. So you can see that how actually the human eye works. So these are the parts we have seen in the human eye. Now we are going to deal with each and every part one by one. So let's just focus on these parts. Now, what will happen? You have seen that the first thing we have taken is the cornea. So firstly, the human eye is spherical in shape, having a diameter of around 2.3 centimeters. So this is the first point to remember, that Human eye is spherical in shape, having a diameter of 2.3 centimeter approximately. Now what will happen whenever a light is going to fall on the cornea? It means this is the outer bulging part of the eye, so around the eye wall. So whenever a light is going to fall on that part, almost 90% of the light get refracted from this part. So it is actually the part where the light is going to fall. So cornea is actually a bulging part in which the light is going to fall, and most of the refraction is going to take place from only that part. Now, after cornea, you can see that a part is situated that is known as pupil. Now, what does pupil do? Pupil means pupil will have a tendency to, after cornea, the light is going to pass through the pupil. It will take the maximum of the light falling on our eye, and the iris, that is a hole situated on the eye, will have an intensity that it will maximize and minimize the light. It means when you see that when you are in a dark room and when you are come outside the sun, you can see that our eyes will be closed. Why it is happening so? Because iris is having a tendency to control and regulate the light rays falling on it. So this is actually controlling and regulating the light rays. Now this is our lens. This is our lens, and the lens we are having in our eyes is actually the convex lens. Why we are using the convex lens? Because it is definitely going to form the real and inverted image here. No? So this convex lens is attached with the ciliary muscles. What is ciliary muscles? I'm going to tell you later after this. Now you can see the most important part, retina. After refraction, there must be needed a screen where the image is going to be formed. So where the image is going to be formed? Image is going to be formed on the part that is known as retina, and it is actually having two sensors on it. Now what are these two sensors? These two sensors are known as rods and cones. These are rods and cones. First one is rods and second one is cones. Now what are these rods and cones? These are actually the sensors which are working on the retina. So rods will going to identify the light which is coming, and the cones will have the ability to identify the color of that light. It is going to detect the amount of light, and it will going to detect the color of the light, and in the scientific terms we can say that it is going to detect the wavelength of light, and wavelength of light is denoted by the lambda. Now after this retina where the image is going to be formed, you can see that these signals will be sent to the optic nerves. Now optic nerves are just like the cables which are carrying the signals to the brain. So whatever the image is we are seeing here, it is identified by the brain only. So what does optic nerve do? It is just simply sending the signals to the brain. So whatever the image we are seeing, it is just because the brain is able to identify that image. Suppose there is a camera in my front and you can see that camera is focusing my image. So what will happen? You can see that the camera will have a lens, and this lens is going to form an image on the screen, and the brain is able to identify that image, and that image will be obtained only by when the optics nerves or the optic nerve is going to send the signals to the brain. So this is how these all things work. Now we are left with the three parts. One is aqueous humor, one is ciliary muscles, and what is vitreous humor. What is the function of all these? I am going to tell you in the next lecture. So this is the actual structure of the human eye, and you can see that human eye is having a several parts, and every part is going to perform a different function. Now what you can see here, in the optic nerves are connected to the part of the eye. There is no retina. There is no retina in this part. Is there any retina on that part? There is no retina on that part where the optic nerves are attached to the human eye. So the point where optic nerves are attached to the human eye is known as blind spot. What is it known as? It is known as blind spot. every person in his or her eye has a blind spot in it. So how you will check the blind spot? There are several activities you can perform by just finding that our human eye has a blind spot or not. So just search on the Google and try to do these activities as much as you can. So there is a blind spot that is we can found where the optic nerves are actually connected to the human eye. Now you can see that where the blind spot is situated, there is no retina. So if there is no retina, there will be no formation of the image. So you can say that at the blind spot, that point is particularly blind. It means the image is not going to be formed here. So I can say that blind spot is actually a point where the optic nerves are connected to the human eye and there is no retina. If there is no retina, there will be no image formation in this case. Now what you have to do? You have to just copy this part from here so we can summarize more clearly what actually the parts are working. Now let's discuss the parts of the human eye one by one. So firstly, we are going to start our first part with cornea. So the first thing is about cornea. Now, what actually the cornea is doing? The light rays firstly falls on that part. It means the 90% of the light is going to reflected by this part only. So cornea is actually, you can say that, a bulging part outside the eyeball where the refraction take place and maximum of light is going to fall on that part. So we can say that the bulging part outside the eyeball where maximum light rays fall and get refracted. So that part will be our cornea. Now behind that cornea, you can see that there is a hole, or you can see that there is a circular part known as pupil. Pupil will regulate the amount of light entering in the eye, and you can see that whenever the light is going to enter in the eye, it acts as a black. Most of the people have the pupil that is black in color. So second part is our pupil. Now what does the pupil do? It will regulate the amount of light. It will regulate the amount of light. Now, if it is regulating the amount of light, and you can see that it is situated just behind the cornea, and it is, I can say that it is a hole, or it is a circular part which is situated behind the cornea. Now, in this pupil, you can see that there is a hole. This hole is known as iris, and it is actually a muscular diaphragm which is going to change its shape whenever a light is falling on it. So iris is attached to the pupil and it is a muscular diaphragm. It means it is made up of the muscles and it is going to control the intensity of light. It is regulating the amount of light, and whenever a light falls on the iris, either it will contract or either it will expand. So the next part is about iris. So our third part is iris. So iris is a black colored hole on pupil, or we can say that it is a muscular diaphragm controlling the light. So this is the muscular diaphragm, which is actually the controlling the light rays which is going to fall on it. Now, cornea is completed, pupil is completed, and iris is completed. We have completed with the 3 parts. Now, after this, you can see that the part which is situated here is a lens. Now, lens is actually a transparent substance, or it is formed like a jelly-like material, you can say. It is formed with a jelly-like material. And the what is the lens we are using in the eye? We are having a convex lens in the eye. So, the refraction take place from this lens, and it is going to form an image on a screen that is known as retina. Now, the 4th part is about the crystalline lens. So, the 4th part I am going to write here. So, our 4th part is all about crystalline lens. Now, the crystalline lens is a transparent medium, and you can say it is a jelly-like material which is used to perform the refraction. Refraction is happening just because of the lenses we have. So, it is actually the convex lens we are using in the human eye. So, we are having a convex lens in our eye. Now, the 5th part after the lens comes is all about the ciliary muscles. This is about the ciliary muscles. So, what does ciliary muscles perform its action just by holding the lens? Not so. Ciliary muscles is actually holding the lenses. This is the one important function of them, and whenever a light is going to fall on that part of the lens, the ciliary muscles accordingly contract and expand to regulate the intensity of the light. So, it is happening that when you are in a dark room, you are not able to see the objects because of that ciliary muscles, because they can contract and expand accordingly. So, its function is not only to hold the lens, but to perform the contraction and expansion in the lens. So, ciliary muscles are holding the crystalline lens. These are holding the crystalline lens, and apart from that, they are also contracting and expanding when light falls on it. Now, after ciliary muscles, the 6th part we have in the lens is all about the retina. So, the 6th part is retina. Now, what will be the function of that part, retina? Retina is a very important part in the human eye, and it is just like a screen we have that is where the image is going to be formed. So, it is a screen on which image is going to be formed. So, the image is going to be formed on a screen that is known as the retina, and it consists of light sensitive cells which on illumination is going to produce the electric signals. So, these are the 6 parts. Just copy this part from here so we can proceed to our next part. Now, the 7th part we have in the eye, but before that, just learn about the 2 sensors which are provided on the retina, that are rods and cones. So this retina is actually having two parts. One is rods and second one is cones. So what does this rods and cones actually do? There are the two sensors you can say on the retina. So what will they do? This cone is going to show you the color of object. The color of the object is identified just because of that cones. And what will rods do? It will detect the amount of light. It is only detecting the amount of light. So the function of the rods is to detect the amount of light entering the eye, and the cones is going to give you the color of the object, or in the scientific terms we can say that the lambda is a wavelength of the light, and it will going to tell you the wavelength of the light. So this is the two sensors you can see that have on our part, that is retina. Now after retina we have seen that we have the optical nerves situated in the eye. So the next part is about optical nerves, and this will be our 7th part, optic nerves. Now what does optic nerves are doing? Optic nerves, you can see that whenever an image is going to be formed on the retina, the light sensitive cells are illuminated on falling of light on it. So this is going to produce the electrical signals, and these electrical signals are sent to the brain via optic nerves. These are the signal carrying wires you can say, which is going to tell the brain that what image is going to be formed. So these are carrying the electrical signals to the brain. So this is the function of optic nerves, that they are carrying the signals to the brain. Now we have also dealt with two parts in this structure of eye, that is about the aqueous humor and the vitreous humor. So what are that things? So here I am describing about the 8th part, that is known as aqueous humor. Now what is this aqueous humor? This aqueous humor is actually a fluid that is present between pupil and lens. So the fluid which is going to be present between the pupil and the crystalline lens is known as aqueous humor. And one thing is about the vitreous humor. So it is again, we can write it here. Vitreous humor. So it is going to provide shape and power to eye. So this is again a fluid which is going to provide the power to the eye, and this is known as the vitreous humor. So what parts we have discussed till now? Firstly, we have seen about the cornea. Then after we have seen the pupil, iris, lens, ciliary muscles, retina, optic nerve, and the two kind of the humor, that is aqueous humor and vitreous humor. So this is all about the parts of the eye you can see here. Now this topic has been completed here. In our next lecture, we are going to discuss about how actually the eye is going to perform its function and what is the power of accommodation of eye. So thank you so much and have a nice day.